The sky above the alien colony was always dark, filled with smoke and fire as if the sun had forgotten this cursed place. The ground was broken stone mixed with ash, and the air carried the stench of burning metal and rotting flesh. This was not a home, not a city, not even a battlefield. This was hell, a prison built by aliens who had no mercy. Inside a cage of black steel, a young alien girl sat with her knees pulled close to her chest. Her skin was pale from hunger, her hair tangled with dust, and her eyes carried no light. Around her, other prisoners cried, screamed, or begged for water, but she stayed silent. She had learned long ago that crying only brought more pain. Guards walked by with heavy boots, their armor shining with cruel spikes. They laughed when they saw the weak, and they struck anyone who dared to lift their head. These guards were not protectors. They were monsters wearing armor. Their job was to break spirits, and they enjoyed it. The girl had no name here, only a number branded on her arm. She had once been someone's daughter. She had once been loved, but in this alien hell, love was forbidden, hope was forbidden. She whispered to herself sometimes, "Don't dream." Dreams hurt more than the chains, but on this day, something different happened among the smoke and noise. A man walked into the colony. He was not like the others. His clothes were worn but not alien. His face carried scars but also kindness. He was human. The human had been sent as a worker. The aliens often used humans for dangerous jobs. They thought humans were simple creatures who would bend and obey. But this man's eyes searched deeper. He saw the cages, the suffering, the hopeless cries, and when his gaze fell on the girl, he stopped walking. The girl lifted her head slowly. Her lips trembled. She did not know why, but when she saw him, something inside her broke. The walls she had built to survive cracked apart. She moved closer to the bars, her voice weak but desperate.
"Please," she whispered, "please."
"Use me, hurt me, just don't leave me here in this alien hell." The human froze. He had expected begging for water, for food, for release, but these words, they cut into him like a blade. What kind of suffering had forced her to say such things? What kind of cruelty had made her believe pain was better than being abandoned? The guards laughed. "She begs like a dog," one sneered. They shoved the human forward, telling him to work. But his mind was no longer on his orders. His mind was on her. He could not shake the image of her hollow eyes and broken voice that night. As fires burned in the distance and screams echoed through the colony, the human sat alone. He remembered her words again and again. He clenched his fists, his heart burned with anger. No one deserved this, not even an alien. She was just a girl. And she wanted only one thing, not to be left alone. The next morning, when he passed by her cage again, she was still there, curled up, shivering from cold. For a moment, their eyes met. She looked at him as if he was her last hope. The human stopped. His hand gripped the bars, his voice low but firm. "I won't leave you here," he whispered. The girl's eyes widened, a flicker of life appearing for the first time in years. Her lips parted as if to speak, but no words came out. Only tears rolled down her cheeks, silent, fragile tears of disbelief. The human knew he was crossing a dangerous line. If the guards heard, he would be beaten, maybe even killed. But something inside him refused to step away. This alien hell had swallowed too many lives already. He would not let it take hers too. A loud horn echoed through the colony. Guards shouted commands, chains rattled. The day's suffering had begun again, but deep inside the cage, the girl no longer felt only despair. For the first time, a small flame burned in her chest, fragile but real hope. The alien girl could not sleep that night. Even though her body was weak and broken, her mind was alive with the memory of the human's words. "I won't leave you here." They replayed again and again in her head. She held them close like a hidden treasure, afraid that if she let them go, they would vanish like smoke. She had begged before, she had cried before. She had prayed to every star in the sky for someone to take her away from this place. But no one ever listened. Every promise made by others was false. Yet this human's voice had been different. There was something in it, a weight, a truth. Morning came with the same harsh routine. Guards dragging prisoners from cages, chains scraping against stone, whips cracking in the air. The girl's body tensed when her cage opened. She was pulled outside and pushed into a line with other slaves. Today they would be forced to move heavy cargo, their thin arms trembling under loads built for machines. The human was there too. He worked in silence, carrying heavy boxes, his face steady, his body strong even under pressure. The guards trusted humans for labor, but they never cared for their well-being. The human used the chance to look at the girl whenever he could. And every time their eyes met, the girl felt that strange warmth again. Hours passed, her legs shook, and finally she stumbled. A guard raised his weapon, ready to strike. But the human stepped forward, catching the heavy box before it crushed her. His voice sharp. "She's too weak for this." The guard sneered. "Then let her die, she is nothing," and swung his weapon toward the girl. But the human blocked the strike with his own arm. The blow left a deep red mark. His jaw tightened, but he did not step back. "She will not die today," he said firmly. The guards laughed and mocked him. They thought humans were foolish, too soft. But for reasons they couldn't explain, they allowed it. Maybe they believed watching him suffer would be amusing. They pushed the girl back into the line. The human carried her load himself that night. When the prisoners were thrown back into their cages, the girl crawled to the bars waiting. She didn't know if the human would come, but her heart begged him to, and he did. His shadow appeared in the dim firelight, his hands gripping the bars softly. He spoke in a low whisper. "Why did you say that? Why did you beg me like that?" Her throat tightened. Her voice was almost gone, but she forced the words out. "Because here, they treat us worse than dirt, worse than tools. They don't see me as alive anymore," I thought. "Maybe if someone used me, at least I'd matter. At least I wouldn't be invisible. At least I wouldn't die alone." The human's chest felt heavy, his breath slowed as he listened. He realized her plea had not been madness, it had been desperation. A soul so broken it begged even for pain rather than emptiness. He leaned closer, his voice shaking but filled with conviction. "You are not invisible. I see you, I hear you, and I promise you, I will not let you die here." The girl's hands trembled as she reached through the bars, touching his hand for the first time. Her skin was cold, her bones sharp beneath her skin. But in that touch there was something powerful, something unspoken. For years she had been alone, and now for the first time she wasn't. But danger was near. A guard's footsteps echoed. The human quickly pulled back. Hiding his face in the shadows, the girl dropped her hand, curling into her corner, pretending to sleep. The guard passed by without noticing, but the girl's heart was racing, not from fear, but from hope. She pressed her forehead against the cold bars and whispered to herself, "He won't leave me, he won't." The human walked back to his quarters, his mind filled with turmoil. He knew he had crossed a line. He was no longer just a worker in the colony. He was planning something dangerous. He had made a promise he could not ignore. As the fires burned outside and the screams of other prisoners echoed through the night, the human closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "Tomorrow I'll find a way. I'll get her out." And for the first time in years, the girl in the cage slept with a faint smile. Her last thought before sleep was not of chains or pain, but of a voice that had promised her freedom. The night was colder than usual. The colony fires burned in the distance, and the sound of chains clinking echoed through the air. The alien girl sat curled in her cage, her eyes half closed, pretending to sleep. But inside, her heart was restless. Every moment since the human's whisper had been filled with a dangerous new feeling, hope. The human lay in the workers' quarters, staring at the cracked ceiling. His muscles ached from carrying heavy loads all day, but his mind refused to rest. He remembered the girl's trembling hand, her hollow voice, and her desperate plea. He had promised her something, and promises to him were not empty words, they were life itself. He studied the guards' patterns carefully over the last few days. He noticed their rotations, their weak spots, and the times when the noise of machinery drowned footsteps. Tonight he would act. He knew it was madness. He knew if he was caught, he would suffer worse than death. But he could not stay silent anymore. When the sky turned darker, the guards gathered near the fire pits, drinking and laughing. The human moved silently. Blending into the shadows, his heart pounded, every step echoing like thunder in his chest. He carried a small piece of scrap metal he had sharpened earlier. It was no weapon for war, but enough to break a lock. The girl's eyes widened when she saw him approach. She pressed closer to the bars, whispering, "You came." "Shh." He placed a finger to his lips. His voice was calm but urgent. "We don't have much time." He slid the scrap metal into the cage lock. The sound of metal scraping was painfully loud to their ears. Each second felt like an eternity. The girl's hands clutched the bars, her breath held. She prayed silently that the guard's laughter would cover the noise. Finally, with a sharp click, the lock snapped. The door creaked open slowly. The girl froze, afraid it was a dream, afraid she would wake up back in chains. But the human reached in, gently taking her hand. Come, we have to move. Her legs trembled as she stepped out of the cage for the first time in years. The cold ground beneath her bare feet felt strange. Almost unreal, she wanted to run, to cry, to collapse, but there was no time. The human steadied her, holding her up, and together they moved into the shadows. They slipped past the first row of cages, the cries of other prisoners filling the night. Some reached out through the bars, begging, whispering, "Take us too, please." The girl's heart ached, but the human shook his head with sorrow in his eyes. "I can't save everyone tonight, but I swear this isn't the end." As they crept along the wall, a guard suddenly turned his head. His torchlight swept dangerously close. The girl clutched the human's arm, her body shaking. The human pulled her down into a ditch, holding her close until the light passed. The warmth of his body against hers was the only thing keeping her steady. They moved again, every second bringing them closer to freedom. Ahead, the gates loomed, thick iron, guarded by 2 alien soldiers. Their weapons glowed faintly. Ready to kill, the human's mind raced. He had no weapons strong enough to fight them directly, but he had something else, his wits. He picked up a broken chain from the ground and threw it far into the shadows. The sound echoed like footsteps. The guards immediately turned, stepping away to investigate. "Now," he whispered, pulling the girl forward. They rushed to the gate, slipping through the narrow gap in the bars where one hinge was loose. The girl's thin frame slid easily. The human squeezed through after her, scraping his side against the rough metal. Blood dripped down, but he ignored the pain. For one brief moment, the open land stretched before them. Freedom was only steps away. The girl's eyes filled with tears, her lips trembling. "We're outside," she whispered, disbelief in every word. But then, an alarm shattered the silence. Red lights flared across the colony walls. Sirens wailed like angry beasts. The guards turned sharply, their torches blinding the dark. Voices roared, "Escaped prisoners! Find them!" The human grabbed her hand tighter. "Run!" Her legs struggled to keep up, but she forced herself forward. The ground shook with the footsteps of the guards behind them. The girl's lungs burned, her body screaming to collapse, but the human's grip kept pulling her forward. Ahead, he spotted an abandoned cargo bay, half buried in rubble. If they could reach it, maybe they could hide, maybe they could even find a ship. But the distance was far, and the guards were gaining. Torches and weapons closed in, shadows racing around them. The girl gasped, her voice breaking. "They'll catch us." "Not if I can help it," the human growled. His jaw clenched, his mind working furiously. He had only one chance left, one desperate idea. The guards shouted again, closer this time, the sound of their boots like a drum of doom. The girl stumbled, falling to her knees. The human pulled her up, his arms strong, his voice fierce. "No, don't stop. We are almost there." And with the alarms screaming, the ground trembling and death closing in, they ran into the night, hearts pounding. Chains broken, but hunted. The night exploded with sound. Sirens wailed across the alien colony. Red lights flashed from the towers, and guards shouted orders as they charged into the darkness. The alien girl's chest heaved, her thin legs trembling with every step. Yet she forced herself forward. The human never let go of her hand, pulling her through the broken ground behind them. The thunder of armored boots grew louder. Alien hunters with glowing weapons spread out in packs. Their torches cut through the dark like blades of fire. "Don't let them escape," one roared. The words carried rage, but also something else, fear. Perhaps these guards had never expected a human slave to resist. The girl's heart hammered against her ribs. She glanced back once, and her blood froze. Dozens of guards filled the path, their monstrous shapes chasing like predators closing in on prey. Her voice cracked. "We can't outrun them." The human's jaw tightened, his eyes burned with determination. "We don't have to outrun them. We just need to be smarter." He pulled her toward the ruins of an old storage yard. Broken crates and twisted metal scattered across the ground. The air smelled of oil and rust. They slipped into the shadows just as a beam of light swept past. The girl pressed her body against the humans, both of them hidden behind a shattered wall. The guards rushed by, their heavy steps shaking the ground. The human placed a finger against his lips, and the girl nodded, holding her breath. The silence was painful. Her lungs screamed for air, but she did not move, not until the footsteps faded. The human took her hand again, whispering, "We'll move along the shadows, stay low. Stay quiet. They crawled through piles of scrap, their hands cut on sharp edges, but they did not stop. Every noise made the girl flinch. Every shadow felt like death reaching for her. Yet she followed. Because the human's grip was steady for a moment. It seemed like they might slip past unseen, but then a guard turned the corner, his torch falling directly on them. His roar split the night. There! The human reacted instantly. He grabbed a loose pipe from the ground and swung with all his strength. The guard stumbled back, his helmet cracking. The human pulled the girl forward. Run! They burst from the shadows. Racing through the open yard, the sirens blared louder. Guards shouted from every direction. Bolts of plasma shot through the air, sizzling as they struck the ground. The girl screamed as one blast narrowly missed her, the heat brushing her skin. They darted into another passage. This one a narrow tunnel half collapsed. The human squeezed through first, pulling the girl after him. Rocks scraped their arms. But the tunnel shielded them from the hunters' torches. The girl gasped. Where are we going? To the cargo bay, he whispered. If we reach it, there might be an old ship. Even if it doesn't fly, it'll give us cover. The tunnel opened into a wide field lit faintly by the moon. And there it was, the broken outline of an abandoned cargo bay. Its doors rusted, its roof half destroyed, but still standing. For the first time, hope filled the girl's chest. But it vanished just as quickly behind them. Dozens of guards poured out of the tunnel. Their roars filled the air, weapons raised. The human tightened his grip on her hand. We'll make it, don't stop no matter what. They ran across the field, their shadows long under the moonlight. Plasma bolts exploded around them, sending up clouds of dust and fire. The girl stumbled again, but the human caught her before she fell. His arm wrapped around her waist. Half carrying her as they pushed forward, the cargo bay loomed closer. Every step a battle against exhaustion and fear. The girl's vision blurred, her body weak from years of captivity. I can't, she gasped. Yes, you can, the human growled. You're stronger than you know, just a little more. The sound of boots grew deafening. The guards were almost upon them. One raised his weapon, aiming straight at the girl's back. The human saw it out of the corner of his eye. With a roar, he shoved her forward and twisted. The plasma bolt seared past him. Burning his shoulder, the pain was blinding. But he forced himself onward, pulling her into the shadow of the cargo bay. They slipped inside just as another volley of shots hit the walls. Sparks rained down. Inside, the bay was dark and filled with the wreckage of old ships. Broken wings, shattered engines, and rusted panels cluttered the ground. The human dragged her behind a massive crate, both of them gasping for breath. The girl's eyes shimmered with tears. She touched his burned shoulder, whispering, You're hurt. He shook his head, his voice low but steady. Doesn't matter, we're still alive, that's what matters. Outside, the guards shouted, their voices echoing. Torches and lights flooded the field. They were closing in fast. The human leaned close, his hand still gripping hers. Listen to me, we're not done, we'll find a way. But you must trust me, the girl nodded. Her voice breaking, I do. I trust you. The cargo bay door rattled as the first guard tried to break through. The human's eyes hardened. He searched the shadows for anything that could help them survive the next few minutes. And in that moment, as the pounding on the doors grew louder and the sound of alien hunters filled the air, the girl realized something. She was no longer begging for someone to use her, to hurt her, or to notice her. Now she was holding on to the one who had promised her freedom. Her silent plea had changed into something stronger, something desperate but pure. Don't leave me. Stay with me no matter what. The doors groaned. The bay trembled. The chase was not over. It had only just begun. The cargo bay was silent except for the faint sound of dripping water. Dust hung in the air like a ghost, and the broken skeletons of old ships filled the space. Outside, guards shouted and searched, their boots pounding the ground. The alien girl and the human crouched behind a crate, their breaths shallow, their hearts racing. The girl's thin fingers trembled as she touched his burned shoulder. You're bleeding, she whispered. Her voice was soft but filled with worry. She had not cared for anyone in years, yet now, seeing blood on him felt like seeing her own life slipping away. The human shook his head, pressing his palm against the wound. I've had worse, he said simply, his voice calm, steady. He looked into her eyes. We're still alive. That's what matters. For a moment she only stared at him, her eyes wide. shimmering with a feeling she had not known in so long, safety. Her voice broke. Why? Why are you helping me? You don't even know me, you could have left me. Everyone else did. The human's jaw tightened. His eyes darkened as memories flickered through his mind. Because I've seen people thrown away before. I've seen lives treated like nothing. I swore if I had the chance to stop it, I would. And then I saw you. Her lips parted. But no words came. A heat spread in her chest. Strange and unfamiliar, she had begged him to use her. Begged him to hurt her, but instead, he was protecting her, shielding her, choosing her. They sat in silence for a long moment. The girl curled against the crate. Hugging her knees, her voice came out as a whisper. Before this place, I had a family. My mother used to sing to me every night. My father told me stories of the stars. He said one day I would travel them myself. I believed him. I thought the universe was beautiful. Her eyes lowered. But then they came. The hunters, they killed my parents. And they sold me here. Since then, every night I wished I would die. Because dying seemed easier than living like this. Her words stabbed into the human's chest. He clenched his fists, his voice heavy. I'm sorry. No one should live like that, not you. Not anyone. The girl's throat tightened, a single tear rolled down her cheek. She looked at him with desperate eyes. Then why? Why did you stay? Why risk your life for me? The human leaned closer, his voice low, but every word carried weight. Because you asked me not to leave you. And I won't, not now, not ever, her breath caught. The emptiness that had lived inside her for so long began to crack. For years she had been invisible. But now, for the first time, she felt seen. She felt alive. The sound of metal groaning broke the moment. The cargo bay doors rattled violently. Guards were trying to force their way in. The human glanced at the girl, his mind sharp. We don't have much time. But listen to me, no matter what happens. You're not going back into that cage, do you understand? The girl nodded quickly, her voice small but fierce. I trust you. The human searched the shadows. His eyes caught a half-broken ship resting near the far wall. Its engines were ruined, its wings torn, but its interior looked intact. Come on, he whispered, pulling her along. They slipped into the wreckage, crawling through a cracked hatch. Inside, the air was stale, but it was shelter. The girl leaned against the wall, exhausted. Her body was frail, yet her spirit felt stronger than ever before. The human sat beside her, his back against the cold metal. For a long time, neither spoke. They listened to the pounding outside, the guards breaking through the doors. Finally, the girl broke the silence. Her voice hesitant. When I begged you, when I said those words, I didn't mean it, not really. I didn't want to be hurt, I just didn't want to be forgotten. I was so afraid of being alone forever. The human turned to her. His eyes softened. You're not alone anymore. Not as long as I'm breathing. Her lips trembled, and before she could stop herself, she leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. His warmth spread through her, a comfort she thought she would never feel again. For the first time in years, she felt safe enough to close her eyes. Her voice was a whisper. Fragile but full of meaning. Don't leave me. The human wrapped his arm around her shoulders, holding her close, his voice firm but gentle. I won't. Outside, the pounding grew louder. The bay doors cracked open. The guards' shouts filled the night, but inside the wreck, the girl and the human shared something unbreakable. It was not chains. It was not fear. It was a bond forged in pain, sealed with hope. And as the first torchlight pierced the bay, the girl whispered into the dark. With you, I feel alive again. The human's eyes hardened as he prepared for what was coming. His voice steady. Then let's stay alive. Together, the bond had been made. Unshakable, and it would soon be tested by fire. The cargo bay doors burst open with a deafening crash. Metal screeched against stone as armed guards stormed inside. Their torches cut through the shadows, searching every corner. The alien girl clung to the human's arm, her body shaking, but his grip was firm. Steady, unbreakable, stay behind me, he whispered. His voice low but filled with fire. The first guard spotted movement and shouted, There! By the wreck! Plasma weapons hummed to life, glowing with deadly light. The human quickly pulled the girl deeper into the broken ship, shielding her as the first blast tore into the wall. Sparks showered the floor, filling the air with smoke. The girl's breath came fast, panic rising in her chest. We can't fight them. There are too many. The human's eyes burned with determination. We don't need to fight them all. We just need to make them think we can. He grabbed a piece of broken metal pipe from the ground. His other hand found a fuel canister leaking near the ship. Quickly, he smashed it open, letting the smell of burning gas fill the air. The girl realized his plan, her eyes wide. "You're going to—" "Yes," he cut her off, "but stay low. And when I say run, you run." The guards advanced in a line. Confident, cruel. One of them laughed. "You think you can hide, human? We will drag you both back in chains." The human stepped into the open, pipe in one hand, the leaking canister at his feet. His voice thundered through the bay. "You want me? Then come and take me." The guards roared and fired, but in that instant, the human struck sparks with the pipe. The leaking fuel ignited in a sudden explosion. Fire roared through the bay, blinding the guards. Their shouts turned to screams as the flames forced them back. The girl gasped, covering her ears. The heat seared her skin, but the human grabbed her hand and pulled her through the chaos. "Now! Run!" They darted between crates as smoke filled the room. The guards stumbled, coughing, blinded by fire and ash, but still, more poured in through the doors, weapons raised. The girl stumbled, her legs weak. The human lifted her into his arms without slowing down. His burned shoulders screamed with pain. But he held her tight, his voice fierce. "Hold on!" Bolts of plasma struck around them, lighting the path with deadly fire. One shot grazed his leg, forcing him to stumble. But he didn't fall, he pushed forward, weaving through the wreckage. Finally, they reached the far side of the bay, where a half-broken maintenance door stood. The human slammed it open with his shoulder. Dragging her inside, the passage beyond was narrow, filled with pipes and steam, but it was a way out behind them. The guards roared in fury. "After them! Don't let them escape!" The tunnel echoed with the sound of pursuit. The girl clung to his neck, whispering, "Why are you doing this? Why risk everything for me?" His breath came in sharp bursts, his voice raw but steady. "Because you asked me not to leave you, and I won't. Even if it costs me my life." Her chest tightened. Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she felt something greater than fear. "Faith," she whispered back. "Then if you fall, I'll fall with you. I won't let you face this alone." The human almost smiled. Even as danger closed in, her words gave him strength. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber, where a rusted control station stood. Broken screens flickered faintly with dying power. The human set her down gently, scanning the room. He spotted an old generator humming weakly in the corner. His eyes narrowed, a plan forming. He turned to her. "Stay here, and no matter what happens, don't move until I tell you." She shook her head fiercely. "No, I'm not leaving you to fight alone." Their argument ended as the guards stormed into the chamber, weapons raised, eyes burning with rage. The leader stepped forward, his voice booming. "End this, kill the human, take the girl alive!" The human's jaw clenched. He grabbed a loose cable from the generator, sparks flying in his hand. His voice roared like thunder. "Come then, but you'll regret it." The guards charged, plasma fire lit the chamber. The human swung the sparking cable into the leaking fuel pipes. A violent surge of electricity exploded outward. Flames roared to life. The blast threw several guards back, their screams filling the air. The girl covered her face, tears streaming down. Her heart felt like it would tear apart. She screamed his name, but his figure moved through the smoke like a shadow of fire. Every strike, every desperate move, every roar of defiance, he fought not for himself, but for her. The final guard raised his weapon at the girl. His shot never came. The human slammed into him. Wrenching the gun aside, his fist crashed into the alien's jaw, dropping him to the ground. The chamber fell silent except for crackling flames. The human stood, chest heaving, blood running down his arm and leg. He staggered but did not fall. The girl rushed to him, wrapping her arms around him, her voice trembling. "You're hurt, you'll die if we stay here." He rested a bloody hand on her head, his voice weak but steady. "Then we don't stay, we run. Together." And as the fire spread, painting the chamber in red light, the two of them stumbled forward into the unknown. They had survived the final stand, but the war for their freedom was far from over. The flames behind them lit the tunnel like a second sun. Smoke curled in dark clouds, and the sound of collapsing metal echoed through the alien colony. The human staggered forward, carrying the alien girl against his chest. His steps were heavy, his breath ragged, but his grip on her was firm. He would not let go, not now, not ever. The girl pressed her face into his shoulder. Her thin arms clung to him as if he were the only anchor left in the universe. Her voice trembled. "They won't stop. They'll keep chasing us. His voice was low but steady. Then we keep moving. We don't give them the chance to take you back. The tunnel opened into the outer fields. The night sky stretched above them. Stars scattered like diamonds across black velvet for the first time in years. The girl looked up at the sky without bars between her and the stars. Her eyes widened, a tear slipping free. "It's beautiful," she whispered. The human set her down gently. His body screamed with pain, burns and wounds marking his skin, but he ignored it. He looked around, searching desperately. In the distance stood a ridge of rocks. Beyond it, the dark outlines of old transport ships buried in dust if even one could still move. It was their only chance. "Can you walk?" he asked. Her legs shook, but she nodded. "If you stay with me," he gave a tired smile. "Always." They moved together across the rough ground. Every step felt longer than the last. Behind them, alarms still blared. Guards shouted in fury, but the night was vast, and their figures grew smaller in the dark. At last they reached the ridge. The girl nearly collapsed. But the human lifted her again, climbing with sheer willpower. On the other side, half buried under stone, rested an old cargo ship. Its hull was rusted, its wings cracked, but its cockpit flickered faintly with dying lights. The girl gasped. It's real." The human pulled the hatch open with both hands, the metal screeching. Inside was dust and broken wires, but the controls glowed weakly. He slid into the pilot's chair, his hands trembling as he pressed switches. For a moment nothing happened, only silence. Then, like a heart refusing to die, the engine coughed. Lights flickered brighter. The ship shuddered, as if awakening from a long sleep. The girl's face lit with fragile hope. Her voice soft, "It's alive." The human gritted his teeth, his hands steadying the controls. "Then let's see if it still remembers how to fly." Outside, guards appeared at the ridge, their torches blazing. They shouted and fired. Plasma bolts streaked across the night, striking the ship's hull. The girl screamed, ducking low. The human roared, slamming his hand on the ignition. The engine screamed, fire burst from the thrusters, and the ship lifted from the ground in a cloud of dust and light. The guards were thrown back, their shots going wild. The girl clutched the seat, her eyes wide. The ground fell away beneath them. The colony, her prison, her nightmare, it all grew smaller, fading into smoke and ruin. Tears streamed down her face, her voice breaking. "We're free. We're finally free." The human leaned back, sweat dripping down his forehead. His wounds burned, his body weak, but his spirit blazed like fire. He turned to her, his voice steady. "No, not just free, alive, and we'll stay alive." Together, she reached across the seat, her hand trembling, and touched his, her voice soft, filled with gratitude and something deeper. "You didn't leave me, you saved me. No one ever did that before." He squeezed her hand, his eyes meeting hers. "You asked me once why. The truth is, because I saw you not as a slave, not as a number, but as someone who deserved to live, and I wasn't going to let this world take that away from you." For a long moment, silence filled the cockpit, only the hum of the engine and the stars stretching before them. The girl leaned closer, resting her head against his shoulder. Her whisper was so soft it almost melted into the night. "Don't ever leave me." His arm wrapped around her gently, his voice firm. "Never." The ship soared higher, leaving the alien hell behind. Ahead lay the endless stars. An unknown future, but a future together. The girl closed her eyes, not from exhaustion this time, but from peace. For the first time since her childhood, she was not afraid. She was not begging to be used or hurt or noticed. She was simply alive, held by someone who refused to abandon her. The human looked at the stars, his jaw set, his heart steady. He had started this journey with nothing but compassion, but now he carried something greater, hope, and hope he knew could change everything. As the ship broke free into the skies, the first light of dawn touched the horizon. The fire of the rising sun kissed the world below. The girl opened her eyes to the glow and whispered with a smile, "A new dawn." The human nodded, his voice strong, "Our dawn," and together, against every chain, every scar, and every shadow of the past, they flew into the light.